Let's keep going. Oh, hold on. For some reason, it didn't keep going, so we have to restart again. Yes, leopard geckos smile. They are known for their smiles. Goth doesn't really do, like the big, bright-eyed smiles because he's blind, right? So his eyes are very rarely open. But he still has a good smile. I'm gonna climb Trico during this. That's not usually what I would do, but let's just commit to it, you know? Hey, Treeks. Let's go. Cutscene skip. Cutscene skip. Let's go, buddy. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Anytime, Trico. Let's go. There you go. There you go. Oh, he's going really far. Come on. Come on. Go. Go, buddy. Go. Go. Oh, he was so close. He was doing a good job, but... Trico. Please focus, buddy. I need you to just go forward. There we go. But yeah, so last week, right? I have been paying attention to the berries. And Nanners is... You know, she's kind of bossy, right? Nanners lives with Tonberry. And so I thought to myself, you know, it really seems like Tonberry's getting bossed around a lot. I feel like, you know, he's probably not very happy. Because he and Nanners never really snuggle. Which, like, I'm not trying to anthropomorphize my lizards, but, like, that's actually a thing, right? If you have a compatible pair of Karusha Zebrata, they typically spend time, like, sitting on top of each other and things like that. Because they're social. So they never do that, and I was like, well, I think Tonberry is just kind of tolerating Nanners. So I have currently in my possession, and as of yet and potentially permanently, unnamed berry. Female. And I was like, you know, she's so sweet, she's so friendly, and also very timid, just like Tonberry. Oh, you wait, Twiz. Not into Dommy Mommies, you wait. she's so gentle and so timid. And I was like, she's a perfect fit for Tonberry. And Nanners is, you know, a gigantic, in both size and personality, meanie head. So let's introduce Tonberry to this new lady. And maybe, you know, they'll just fall in love immediately. And they had really good interactions outside of the enclosure and all that. So Nanners and Frank used to live together. They grew up together. So I was like, okay, great. You know, I'll put Nanners back with Frank. They can be together again. And, oh, I lost my rope run. That sucks. And, Tonberry can be with this new lady, right? So, the onus of stress from last week was just, oh my god, none of that was working. Like, I put Nanners in with Frank, and Nanners immediately just... Yeah, our timing is like all sorts of wrong here. Trico, come back, Trico! Okay, we're gonna have to do it this way. Man, it has been a long time since we've had to do this version. It's not that much slower, so... Fine. I wanted to land on top there, not grab. But again, it's fine. We're not that far behind. So I put Nanners in with Frank. And just... She was so angry. Like, immediately. And Frank, you know, Frank is a big boy. Frank is the single largest Karusha Zebrata I have ever seen. He is like 900 grams, which is huge. Like, most Karusha are between 3 and maybe 600. Frank is huge. So I was like, alright, you know, at least Nanners can't really hurt him because he's just gargantuan, you know? Frank the tank. But she was trying. And it was really scary. Because it wasn't just like Nanners was a little bit upset and would kind of nip at him. I watched Nanners look at Frank from the top of the enclosure, notice that Frank was at the bottom, almost do a flying leap down to the bottom in order to grab Frank by the neck and fling him around like a dog toy. I was like, oh no, this is just not working. This is, oh, I hate this, you know, because I don't, and Frank wasn't really hurt, you know, because like I said, Frank the tank. But, like, he's just so big, you can't really hurt him, but he was really upset, you know, he was scared, he wasn't really eating. He found one of the hides that I put on the floor of the enclosure, and he just went in there and stayed in there for like a week. Didn't move, because he was scared, you know? And I didn't want that for him. But at this point, I had moved Nanners out from Tonberry, and I was like, you know, oh my god, I can't put her back because now, like, they're not established together anymore, and she's gonna hate Tonberry just as much as he hates Frank. I've ruined everything, you know? But I was like, okay, you know, at least Nanners can't really hurt Frank. Maybe they'll just work it out. At least Tonberry has his cute little girl, you know, and they're gonna be great friends. And then Tonberry, who is, without exaggeration, the sweetest lizard I have ever met, almost killed her. The poor girl. This must be the most miserable she's been in her entire life. Because, you know, originally I was gonna introduce her to Frank, maybe, because, you know, Frank is living by himself, and I thought maybe he could want a friend. So we tried introducing the little girl to Tonberry. I called Trico Tonberry because he stepped out of the way. Because, you know, Frank doesn't have a friend. So, I was like, you know, maybe Frank can have this new little friend. And the poor girl, same day she got here, she met Frank, who bit her in the tail and then put her entire back leg in his mouth and gave her a crunch, which she's still favoring that leg, so obviously it hurt, and I feel really bad about that. And then, you know, she went in with Tonberry, and Tonberry just got her in the face. Hey, Shasty, nice to see you. How you doing? And I've never seen anything like that from Tonberry. He is so sweet. Like, when you hold him, you can tell that he's being really gentle. Like, he's being aware that he doesn't want to hold on to you really tight because that hurts, you know? Like, he's really gentle. And he just... She was just sitting there minding her own business, and he just snapped. And he got her in the butt, and then she ran away. And he did do a flying leap. Like, he was in the air, leaping to chase her. And then that's when he got her in the face and, like, peeled one of the big scales on her head next to her eye off. And, like, she was bleeding. And, I mean, I was there standing and supervising this whole thing, right? Because that's... I'm not just gonna put them in there and just leave them. And... What am I seeing over here? Speaking of these two, is Tonberry snuggling with Nanners right now? Anyway, so he went flying leap, went after her, and then I was there, so I scooped her out immediately to get her away from him and put her just like a foot away to the left on top of the dog crate, which happened to have like a cork tube on it. And Tonberry could see that's where she was outside the enclosure, and he started trying to just climb the side of the enclosure to get to the dog crate to keep going after her. It was just the most it was nothing like the Tonberry I know. You know? So everything was just so stressful. That's why I was stressed out of my mind last week, because all of my lizards were hurting each other and people were bleeding and... Oh, it was bad. So thankfully, I was just like, okay, this isn't working. I took the new female out. Frank is now by himself again and seems much, much happier. And thankfully, oh, thank God, I put Nanners back in with Tonberry. And it literally made me cry because Tonberry was like up toward the top of the enclosure and I put Nanners in at the bottom. So they were facing each other, kind of nose to nose. And Tonberry, as soon as he saw her, he rushed down, and I was like, oh no, here we go again. You know, they do hate each other. But he went, and it was obvious immediately that he really missed her. Like, he was just loving up on her. He checked, you know, he nuzzled into her, did some head bobs, and then he checked every inch of her body to make sure that she was okay. So yes, he is into Dommy Mommies. Like, he's just a timid little guy who will not tolerate anybody besides his gigantic bossy bitch wife. Like, that's just what he wants. And he was, like, immediately, he was so much calmer. Because for the entire time that Nanners was out of his enclosure, he was beside himself. He was pacing, he was climbing, constantly really distressed, trying to find her. He was, you know, looking in all of her favorite spots, being like, why isn't she here? What happened to her? And then as soon as she came back, he was calm again. And throughout that first day that they were reunited, he would, like, do a lap of the enclosure, presumably to see if the other female was still there. And then he would come back, check on Nanners, give her some sniffs, make sure she was okay. And then he would, you know, go do a lap again. And it was really funny because I told them, because obviously I talked to them, and I said, like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that you actually loved her this much. You know, I'll never separate you again. And Nanners was, you know, she was very interested in him too, but it was really funny. Because just as you said, Twiz, he is into Dommy Mommies. Once he calmed down a little bit and Nanners started, like, re-exploring the enclosure. Boy, can you, like, line this up correctly, please? Thank you. Tonberry was just climbing around, and Nanners went over to him and just bit him. He wasn't doing anything. She just walked across the enclosure really casually and just bit him. Took some scales off and everything. And I was like, what is that about? And he didn't care. Completely undeterred. He's just, that's what he's into, I guess. So, if that's what makes him happy, then who am I to say otherwise? So I had to take him out, and I had to, like, treat his Nanners crunch injury. But he was happy as a clam. So he truly is just a lizard who says, step on me, mommy. Like, that's just... and he's the sweetest little thing. I never would have expected it, but he loves her. And I will never separate them again. So yeah, I have that little girl in the quarantine enclosure. And I don't know, you know, what to do. Which is why I made a strict rule. Sorry, Trico. I made a strict rule that we were not going to name her. Trico, eat your snacky. Because if we name her, then we get attached to her. And she's very sweet. And she, as somehow with most lizards, she is now in a better home than she was. I don't know why people can't just take care of their lizards. But we're not sure yet whether she's staying, which is why she doesn't have a name. It's why I haven't talked about her in the Discord or shared any pictures. Because all of that makes it harder to find her a different home if that's what we need to do. And that was always on the table. Like, before we got her, Husbando and I, you know, had a discussion and we were like, she might not be staying. We cannot name her. The good news is, I know a lot of people who do have Circuluses, which is the name of the family group that the berries live in, where she might fit in a lot better. So if we do decide that she doesn't really have a place here, she has plenty of other places to go with other berries, and she can be happy, you know? But we're contemplating, because I don't want Frank to be alone. It's not good for this species to be alone. They tend to suffer from mental health conditions when left alone in solitary. But Frank also, you know, partially just because he's a jerk, but partially because he's blind almost. You know, he has very bad vision. You know, I think that's playing into why he doesn't get along with others. Because he's scared, right? You know, he can't really see what's happening. He just knows there's this other creature that's like in his space and he's like, oh my god, don't eat me. You know? So we're contemplating maybe the solution is 2 enclosures that I kind of merge into one with a mesh wall in between. So that really I broke my leg in free fall. Pretty sure that's how that works. So that, you know, they can interface with each other, they can lick each other and say hello and spend time together, but they can't actually hurt each other. So we're contemplating whether we want to go that route. Otherwise, Frank has just been happy as a clam. Now that Nanners isn't in there, it took him a couple days to realize that Nanners isn't in there and to, you know, come out and not be scared. But now that he knows Nanners isn't there anymore, he's very calm again. He went back to his favorite hide and he's having a grand old time. So intimacy mesh, yeah. Exactly. Boy, Trico is just doing incredibly poorly with this. Is that everybody? Yes, that is everybody. Okay. So there's time on that IL. What? Let me again look at